Warm welcome to all the participants, in India, and good morning to folks in US and elsewhere. It's a privilege to host Bhavisha. I've had the privilege to meet him once earlier. A very dynamic personality, and I'm sure the excitement of the topic itself, product design as a new differentiator, is going to be equally exciting. For those of you who don't know Bhavisha, he is the head of user experience design team at MXPLAYER. MXPLAYER is one of the largest streaming service provider. I'm sure everyone is aware of that, and Netflix, especially in times of COVID. They have now almost 250 plus million subscribers, completely built out of India, and now I think recently going global to UK, US, and 5 more countries.
Correct.
Bhavisha has been a passionate designer as a practitioner, but he's equally passionate to give back and pay it forward. He has now he's been helping almost 50 plus startups through a variety of entrepreneurial networks at Google, Microsoft, accelerators, have coached hundreds of students and aspiring designers as his favorite thing to kind of give back. So truly remarkable for someone who is, as young as it seems from a little research that we did, looks like he's 24 with 6 years of experience already, and now heading up design for one of the largest streaming providers. So there you go. I don't know about others, but you certainly make me feel a little old, Bhavisha.
So thanks a lot for inviting me, Pinkesh. I'm really glad to be here.
Absolutely a pleasure. I think the audience is going to have a treat. So floor is all yours, Bhavisha. Over to you.
Sounds great. So I'll just share my screen before I start. Hi, everyone. As Pinkesh gave an introduction, I'm Bhavisha Garg, and I'm the head of user experience at MXPLAYER. And today our topic is design as a differentiator and how to future-proof, how to future-safe your company. So I'll dive right in. What really is a differentiator? Let's first try to understand that word. Differentiator is something that will help you, help your product stand out in a saturated sea of startups and businesses. Something that will give you a competitive edge among all others, which is more important now more than ever because Fortune 500 companies, big companies are getting bankrupt, and they're actually getting a run of their money by smaller startups, which are much smaller team, but a much better experience, right? So that's a example of a differentiator. So I'm not going to pretend that design as a differentiator is a new concept. No, not at all. It's not new for sure. Let's look at the design thinking's role in some milestone innovations of the humankind. Let's go back to the past. Henry Ford knew a thing or two about design thinking when he redefined the automobile manufacturing, and it allowed him to create one of the largest selling cars ever back in 1896. So he knew a thing or two about design thinking and redefining the things that currently existed. Thomas Edison obviously knew a thing or two about iterations when he created, or his team created, 1,000 iterations of a bulb, and then finally came up with the creation that light us all in 1879. So now, all right, so there's a rule. So whenever you give a design, you cannot give a design without mentioning Nokia versus iOS. So that's really the rule that there is. So I'm going to do that. Nokia ruled the world of mobile in 2007, and then came our stellar Steve Jobs, iOS, with their iPhone, and they disrupted the whole industry with the kind of design, the kind of features, the way they attracted the audience. So, okay, so design as a differentiator is not a new concept. Then what is new? I'll tell you what's new. What's new is the expectation of a good design is more real now than ever. Customers have seen enough good designs to call on the bad one when they see it. So if your product or your service, your business has a bad design, bad experience, they would call on it because they now have seen what good experience looks like, thanks to all the unicorn startups around us. So let's take a look at a bit of data. in last 10 years, design-driven companies have outperformed S&P 500, that's an index used in US and similar to Nifty in India, by 211%. So companies which were design-driven, innovation-driven, performed 211% better than the companies that weren't. So more stats for that. S&P 500 companies in 1920 used to have an average lifespan of 60 years. That's quite a long time. But today, that lifespan has shortened to 17 years. The companies, Fortune 500's biggest companies, have a lifespan of as less as 17 years today at an average, which calls for innovation, which calls for change, which calls for becoming better. So let's take a look at this graph properly. In this graph, we have technological opportunities and corporate innovation mapped at two different horizons. So I'll explain why is it so. Technology at this day and age has excelled more than anything else. We have robotics. We have almost got into cognition. We are able to read people's mind and detect how they react to something through neural testing. That's a thing now. There are labs which analyzes people's emotion through a certain arrangement. They have the apparatus for that certain arrangements and allows you to know the real emotions that people are having and not just the things that they are saying in the user research. So technology is out there. It's performing really well. So that's the graph here. Corporate innovation, on the other hand, has not been able to keep up with that. Corporate has more or less their experience have been the same since 2005, 2008. It's been more or less the same. And hence the corporate innovation graph goes like this. The innovation didn't happen quite a lot. But what does the user expect? User don't expect the highest tech out there. User expects something in the middle. User expects you to respect all the new tech out there, but at the same time, abstract all the complex things to make it easy for users. So there's a huge transformation opportunity space currently in the market, the way corporates are actually running and the way technology has exceeded. So creating a unique and delightful experience is no longer optional for your brand and product. Industry has shown signs of acceptance of this fact. I'll show you a couple of examples. Design is on the cover. Everyone from Harvard Business Review to Bloomberg Business Week are accepting that design is the new thing. Again, new being open for the debate. Design is in B school. So we are currently in this event for Institute of Product Leadership, which is one of the best B schools out there for corporate innovation, for studying corporate innovation. And they also have boot camps for user experience. So design has clearly penetrated into executive studies. Designers are on the board. You'll see, and most of these top unicorn startups and even at the CEO levels, you would see designers all across through Silicon Valley, in India, everywhere. You would see designers are now sitting on the board. Designers are getting funded. There are a lot of startups, for example, Airbnb, that completely disrupt the way things have been done due to their power to design things better for the users, to understand the user better than any corporates could do. And their ideas are definitely getting funded. So most say that they do design, but they don't preach it, right? Design is beyond creating just the wireframes using the software. It's a holistic approach. We all know that, right? And it needs design leaders like you to constantly be aware of where your company stands. You need to constantly know what's the design maturity of your company. So with this, story time. So before we segue into the framework for design maturity, I'm gonna give you an example of how design could impact the complete business, how design could act as the main differentiator in your business. So these are just a couple of examples of few businesses that I helped to be specific. First one, it's adult care based agency. So in United States, when you get old, if you have paid your taxes, the government allows you a Medicaid and Medicare policy. So this company where you just used to be a consultancy which helped people with their Medicare and Medicaid plans. So initially they just had a very simple website which looked like this. And I visited them in their New York office, and I tried to understand the deeper vision, the deeper mission behind their company. So this is the CEO of the company, and she's with her daughter in this photo. I visited their house to understand, how they work. And I was struck by the fact that she was, Gina Lisa, the CEO of the company, was not doing this for money. She was trying to help people genuinely. And I found that it was a really good hook. It was something that we could really build something up on. We could create a much more empathetic environment in the website. So this is what the website looked like initially. So they had a lot of clients coming in, usually through word of mouth, sometimes through their website. They used to get their phone number, call them up, book a meeting. We observed and interviewed the clients who booked a consultation in the New York office, and we went through the whole process with them, the kind of questions people ask, the kind of doubts they have generally, the kind of objections they have to most of the things, the kind of objections they have to the kind of money they would have to pay. And we recorded custom help videos and personalized the complete onboarding. So we started designing a personalized onboarding for MMAG earlier. Now they have changed their name. I'm going to still refer it to MMAG because that's how I remember them. So we recorded videos for MMAG to make sure that their onboarding was much more personalized. We introduced Gina Lisa as their mascot, as their main face of the brand. And we started recording personalized videos so that people can understand. So for all the levels of the persona. So we recorded videos for people who don't understand anything about Medicaid, people who knew everything and just wanted a couple of doubts solved. We created videos for everyone. And then I obviously edited all those videos myself. And we came up with this website that you see here. We came up with a website that felt way more empathetic. It had story of Gina Lisa written on it. It had videos. It had all the media mentions that Gina Lisa had for kind of brand they were, the kind of mission, why she was doing what she was doing. And we created a pre-screen for Medicare. So we noticed that most of the people used to ask when they used to come in the office that, am I eligible for Medicaid? And we made it the main lead generator of the website. So this is what, so when you click on this pre-screen for Medicaid, you will come on this questionnaire and it will ask you a couple of questions. And then at the end of it, it will tell you if you are eligible for Medicaid or not. And these are the kind of use cases that you find when you are studying people in their context. What was the result? 266% more clients through their website. And most of them, Gina Lisa told me, became long-term clients, right? So we did this project at around in 2018, and by 2019 end, the website redo and the whole brand redo had an uplift of $2.3 million, as Gina reported, on the overall thing, and that was a great thing. I mean, it finally succeeded, and the people who came to their office, 7 out of 10 times they had checked their website. So our website was definitely doing well, even SEO wise. So story number 2. So as you guys know, I was one of the ex-partners at CoinDCX. In December, we started working on CoinDCX, December 2018. We started working with 2017, December 2017, we started working with CoinDCX. And it actually started right out of Starbucks, literally. Sumit, CEO of CoinDCX, I met him at a Starbucks, and he literally told me that, Bhavishya, we need to create a cryptocurrency exchange that everyone loves. Something that people have never seen, something that is so simple that just strikes them. And that was the base where we started. And so we launched CoinDCX one day after RBI mandated banks not to cooperate with crypto companies. So 7th April was our launch destined, 2018, and 6th April RBI announced that they all their banks will not be cooperating with cryptocurrency companies. And suddenly in just one day, we had to completely redo all our architecture and launch at the destined date. And we did that. So this is what our initial screen looked like. The main differentiator that we had when we entered the market, CoinDCX, the main differentiator we had was that we understood the behavior and expectations of a crypto user more than anyone else in the market. So we had all kind of heat maps, scroll maps, all the feedback sessions. I was personally part of all the Telegram groups out there. I was personally out there to take the feedback. I was texting users. I was trying to find the relevant feedback and really trying to figure out what do they need and give it to them exactly. And with that size, with our team size was 1/20th of the size of the most major companies at that time, ZepPay or CoinX. But the UX, the experience around everything kept us growing. And we launched products for every persona. We, through our study, through all our research about every persona, we understood their major problems, and we understood that all of them, especially in crypto, they need different interfaces, because an advanced person needs something that has a lot of options in it, lot of customizability. Someone who is a beginner who wants an abstracted interface, something that's very, very simple. So we launched products for every persona. This is few of the products: DCX Margin, DCX Instart, DCX Trade, each for a different purpose. And each product was tested with relevant users for the relevant persona that were defined for that product. And I personally made tutorials for all the beginners and advanced users to make sure that everything that we are creating is getting accepted, everything that we are creating is getting the right feedback, and we are able to get the right lessons, like right tutorials out there to everyone, so that they can start using CoinDCX for their crypto trading as soon as possible. And every member in the team, you would see later when we define the stages of growth, this is the infused stage. Every member in the team supported design, literally from support to marketing to HR. Everyone was supporting design in a way, in one way or another. So, support team was constantly giving us all the feedback that users were giving. Marketing team was coming up with all the reviews that people had on our different apps on Android store. I'm sorry, on Android store, all the reviews on the Android store. So everyone was involved and was thinking how to make this experience better for customers. So gradually we grew into India's largest cryptocurrency exchange, surpassing all the market leaders. At that time, before we started, ZepPay and CoinX were in the game. They were the biggest cryptocurrency exchanges out there. And by December 2019, both of them had gone out of the market. They had shut down their doors, and CoinDCX came winning. It sustained through the hard time. It sustained through the hard time by providing a better experience, and it sustained. It partnered with Binance, OKX, Huobi, BitMEX, and many other exchanges out there to provide an experience that was unparalleled, something that other people didn't provide at all. And recently they have been funded $3 million Series A by Polychain Capital, Bain Capital Ventures, and HDR Group, the operator of BitMEX. It's one of the largest cryptocurrency. It's the largest cryptocurrency exchange out there in terms of volume. So just with a better understanding of customers, CoinDCX won competitors of 5x, 10x the size. All hail design, right? Entirely by design, entirely by understanding what customers wanted. So that's the end of our story too. And segue into the 5 stages. I think someone left their mic on. All right, let's keep going on. So there are 5 stages of design maturity in a company. So design maturity is something that you would define in a way that how mature is the design thinking, the customer-centric thinking and deliverables in that company? How much do they value design? So that's how we would define design maturity. And there are 5 stages of design maturity in your company: dark ages, peripheral, central, embedded, and infused. We'll see ahead what they are. But how do we decide? How do we decide what is where to rank our company? Where do our company scale in this scale of 5? So we have a solution for that in this framework. There are 6 dimensions of design maturity in your company. So whenever we are analyzing in any company, all we need to do is we define these 6 dimensions. So I'll just go back. The 5 stages of design maturity. At every stage, we could scale this 6 dimension and understand why the company stood where it was. So, all right, I think it's getting a bit complex. I'll simplify it a bit. 6 dimensions are basically the metrics that you would analyze your company on. There are 6 simple metrics: beliefs and innovation, tools and skills, people and resources, research and education, metrics and deliverables, and organization structure and processes. I'll define each one of them. So when you're analyzing a company in terms of how mature is it in design, you would understand degree to which the company's habits and ritual and way of working supports design thinking. The way they work, how much does it support the design thinking, the degree of their focus on each customer. The tools and skills, the extent to which your team have skills, tools, and thinking to create a good UX. That your team might not even be trained for design. Your team might not know how the design process works, or your team could really well know how the design works, but might not get opportunity to do it. And it also, the budget that you set aside for design also comes into this pillar, this metric. The second, and I've divided this 6 dimension into majorly 3 pillars: platform, people, and practices for simplicity. We just discussed the platform. Now people and resources, the number of people and the quality of people dedicated to design, the kind of people that are working on design in your organization, and the kind of budget that you have dedicated to all those people. Research and education, the amount of focus and budget dedicated to user research. The user research is one of the major importance. A lot of companies say that they do design, but most of them, they don't do UX research. They don't do user behavioral research. They don't do usability testing. They don't do user interviews. So those are the things that they miss out on. So that's why this metric exists. If you really want to be mature, you would have to set aside budget for the user research, and also get your team trained into how to do that user research at the first place if they don't know already. The fifth one, is metrics and deliverables. How much your company focuses on customer-centric metrics. And this also includes the experiment-based design. How much experiments the company is doing, right? In terms of A/B testing, in terms of ABC testing, in terms of personalization, how many experiments are they running for each persona? And also awareness of metrics in all the team. So you don't just have to set the customer-centric KPIs. You have to make sure that everyone in your team respects that. And the last dimension is organization structure and processes. So the way your company is structured has a lot to do in terms of your design maturity. If the way your company is structured, it doesn't allow for design to be mature, it doesn't allow design to grow, then it might be a bad news. So organization structure is one of the major important dimensions. And the processes that you set for design, the way everyone works in your team, the processes are one of the major things that decide what we do day to day in our professional life. So if you haven't set a right process for design, that again might lose you points in this dimensions. So now, all right, so this all the heavy lifting. We'll go to a slightly better looking map. So if we create a map for this, for each company, we would make each of these 6 dimensions on a map like this, and rate each company on how well they do in each one of it. For example, in this one, in people and resources, they have done, halfway well. And for example, in case of metrics and deliverable, they haven't even started setting the metrics for customer yet. So this is what this is how you read that map. And this is the map that you take away, right? So if possible, I would ask anyone to launch the poll that we have for the 5 stages of design. So what I want you to do, based on what you have done, everyone, if you're on YouTube right now or LinkedIn, you could comment somewhere. What I want you to do is rate your company on these 5 stages of design. You understand dark ages, peripheral. I'll explain them later on in detail. And as you start to understand where your company lies, comment it, right? Answer to the poll. And we would love to know, consider this as a pledge for making sure your company is growing in the right direction. Consider this as a pledge that you take today to make sure that your company would be growing in the right direction. So answer us in the poll or comment us in YouTube or LinkedIn, wherever you are live. So this is the map where you could map your company's performance in terms of design to kind of get an idea of where your company stands in the 5 stages. So if we, for example, if we map the 5 stages of design maturity that we just mentioned, this is what the map could end up looking. For the dark ages, it would be just a couple of things that they just have people for it. They might have skills for it, but they don't have metrics or structure, belief, anything that's going on for the design. All right. Dark ages. So before jumping into the dark ages, I'll give you an analogy that will help you understand this design maturity scale a bit better, and also give you time to probably answer on the poll or comment on LinkedIn. All right, let's start. So let's consider that. All right, I'm going to close this. All right. So let's consider you're an early age human, right? You have just started understanding that there are fruits on the trees, right? You don't know anything about cooking anything. So this is the dark ages, right? You don't know anything. You don't know any recipes. You have no clue, right? Peripheral, right? Your friend came, hold your hand, and like, dude, you need to cook it. You need to light up a fire, place a vessel like this, and probably have to cook it. That's the peripheral stage, right? You have done one-off recipes. You have created a couple of good dishes with your friends, but most of the time you're creating bad recipes. Central is when you have gotten a better hang of creating food, of cooking food. You have gotten a better hang of how to make up things, how things get cooked. That's the central stage. You are kind of getting the idea of how things are done and trying to do it yourself. Embedded is now you are experimenting with all the kind of recipes. You're mixing up things that you found in the woods. That's the embedded stage, that you are now experimenting with things. You're now getting better. Your food is now tasting better. All right. And infused is the stage where everyone around you know those recipes. Everyone around you is cooking well. All right, so I hope that analogy helps you understand how the design maturity also grows in a similar fashion. And we'll go to the first one, dark ages. Dark ages, the companies in this phase are entirely focused on technology and business, avoiding design entirely, right? They rarely even create the UI designs. They don't even have one-off design projects. They don't have any understanding of design. They are just focusing entirely on their business. They are focusing entirely on shipping the product. It could even be a large team, a company size of 50, and still not doing design. So let's map dark ages on the map we had of 6 dimensions. So they have people, definitely they have people doing things right. They have they have tools. A lot of people know Photoshop. The tools that you take to do design, they know. A lot of your designers in your company, they might know. So they might have the tools and skills, but again, they might not be doing anything else in the design. So this is dark ages, 404 design not found. We move over to the peripheral. So for these companies, design is just a tool to make things look good, right? They might even do one-off projects with an agency for one of the products that is performing well, but for the most of their other products, they don't have a good design process. So a lot of companies like that also come at this stage, that they are doing one-off design projects. Couple of times they do respect design, but most of the time design takes a back seat, and they are focusing on just shipping the product whatever way they can, making sure the business requirements are fulfilled, but not entirely focusing on customer centric KPIs. And and if we try to map Peripheral on the map of 6 dimensions, this is what it could look like. So let's go one by one, and for this one, because it might have more content. Beliefs and innovation, right? So belief, in this case, they are starting to believe that, all right, if we have a better design, our product could perform better. That's the kind of thinking they have right now, that design probably make things better. So they are starting to kind of get a clue that, all right, maybe design might be the way to go, right? They might have the first team set up in terms of people. They might have a first team set up, but nothing beyond it. They might have a couple of customer-centric KPIs, but not the C-level might not be focusing on that a lot. Tools and skills, they might have the first capabilities in terms of the design team internally or agency, but they might not continue to focus on it. They might not continue to grow them. Research and education might be non-existing at a peripheral stage. They might not focus a lot on user research. Organization structure, again, it might not be very inducive to design. The product managers might have a lot of authority. They might be calling all the shots. So organization structure at a peripheral stage might not be helping design at all. So this is what its map would look like. Moving over to the next one, central. All right, so I hope you are with me on this, just 3 more to go. Companies at this stage have developed more collaborative processes, right? They are incorporating joint working sessions, integrated tooling with non-design peers. They are trying to get non-design peers into the conversation as well. They are trying to focus on being the go-to design team for all the projects out there. They're trying to empower as many projects out there in their company, but they are essentially a small team, essentially one team that is catering to all the requirements, right? So now overall, there is more talk of design in the air. More executives are understanding the value of design. They have obviously created this team, given this a bit of budget, and made sure that it performs, because they understand that design is crucial at this stage. So if we map central on the 6-dimension map, you would see something like this. So let's go one by one. Beliefs and innovation. So as I said, customer-centric mindset and design thinking, now has a seat at the table. They understand that it's important for the business. Tools and skill. Design skills are spreading. More people than the initial design team are understanding how the design works, how it all goes. So they are getting more literate in the design process. People and resources, increasingly more people and budget is being allocated to design. They understand the value of it. Research and education. So now research might be at the nascent stage. They might have good analytics team. They might be analyzing the feedback, but they might not be doing usability studies. They might not be doing contextual studies. They might not be doing a lot of user research, but some of them they're definitely doing. And the team needs time. The team is given time and training for better research most of the time when it's a central setting. Metrics and deliverables. So project results with better design are evident at this stage. The companies at this stage, they understand that design is performing well, and they have set the customer-centric APIs to match with it. Organization structure, they definitely respect the design team now at this stage. They definitely respect the process, and leaders and the department are yet to understand the design and the entire value of design, but they definitely respect the team and their work, and they're given enough opportunities. So moving on to embedded. Embedded are companies that are masters of data-driven design. They are masters of experimentation. They are not just relying on Google Analytics. No, they have their own analytics set up on their website, on their app, and they're analyzing every user behavior. They're analyzing how their users are going through their product. And they have a sophisticated process for analytics, as I said, experimentation. They're recruiting for user research and monitoring and measuring success of specific efforts in design. They also have a beginning of design strategy. So now at this stage, what essentially happens is one person is assigned to each team. Generally, either the team is divided into 2 parts, 3 parts, but it usually what happens is that companies at this stage, they are so large that in a central setting, they might not be able to serve the purpose. So they might have to go inside the different teams. So as we see in companies like MXPLAYER, for instance, we are embedded, right? We are in between Infused and embedded in a way that we also serve to everyone in the company. I'll give this example later on, but what I essentially mean is that embedded companies are the ones that might have a very sophisticated design, but at the same time, not everyone in the team might be on board with it, right? Not everyone, it's not gone all the way, right? So that's why it's not infused yet. So executives are definitely all in. They understand the value of design. They've set the KPIs and they're measuring the impact on business. So let's look at the 6 dimensions for embedded. If we map the 6 dimension for an embedded company, it might end up looking like this. So instead of looking at the ones that are good, let's look at the ones that they have not performed well in. So again, they might not be doing great in research and education, right? So they have their budget, but they might not be entirely focusing on it. Their main focus might be shipping a better experience, right? So they might not be giving enough time to education or training their team. And again, due to all the deadlines that a company of this size have, these companies might not also be doing a lot of user research, right? Another thing that they might be missing is metrics and deliverables, right? So in terms of design, a lot of people, as I said, might do design. A lot of designers are assigned to each team, but everyone in the team are yet to understand the value of it, yet to understand the value of each process, in each step in the design process, right? They should understand the value of why feedback, why user research is important. So that is still, a bit far. And everything else, at this stage, the company is doing well on, right? So they definitely have good experimentation. They have the right customer-centric mindset. They have all the tools and skills in place. They have all the people and resources and budget that they need to deliver good experience. Sorry, pardon me. So the last stage.
I'm sure this is the last part of what you were saying, right, Pravisha? And just in interest of time, we want to leave a few more minutes for question and answers as well. So, I recommend
I'm just going to finish in just 2 minutes.
Super.
Perfect. All right. So, at the infused stage, as we say, the company is performing well at all the dimensions, right? So this is how you can scale your company. You can make sure that your company is performing well, right? You can understand how mature your company is just by mapping your company on all these 6 dimensions, understanding where you might be lacking. So this is one of the takeaways. So I'll quickly go through the MXPLAYER. For example, in 2011, when MXPLAYER launched, it was Peripheral. It was one of design projects. It looked something like this, but now, after in 2018, Times Internet bought MXPLAYER, introduced movies, shows, music, live TV, games. It's now more of an infused design maturity. As I said, we are mostly between embedded and infused, but I would still say we are more infused than embedded because everyone in our company literally understand the value of design. And you would see the result of it. India, MXPLAYER is named the top streaming app in India, right? So key takeaway, what you need to take away from this talk is the 5 stages of design maturity. Answer, as we said in the polls, on the LinkedIn comments on YouTube, answer where your company lies on this scale of 5. You can analyze your company on this 6 dimension, as I said, and that's about it. Just last 3 important tips that I have for you is that customer-centric leadership may arise from anywhere, right? So empower people and allow them to come forward, right? Use your design skills to bring the change. So your design skill says that you have empathy for the user. Use that empathy for your colleagues and bring them inside the design conversation. Involve them, right? And let the design process be more fun and relatable for everyone. Try to give them the right metrics, try to give them the right deliverables so they feel involved and they feel that the design is the right way to go. And that's about it. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. I wish, as I was going through this, I wish hundreds of CEOs and decision makers. I wish they were here on the call. I'm sure they will be watching this on YouTube and LinkedIn later as well. Fantastic advice, a lot of actionable insights. Love the whole maturity model that I think you put forward, but more important than just the model, also the prescriptive guidance that I think you laid out for each stage based on where you are. I think there's a lot of interesting questions that are gonna, popping up. But one interesting thing, to go back to the poll that we asked the audience who's live on Zoom right now. Turns out that only 28% combined total said that they are either embedded or infused, right?
Interesting.
And so now, if you think about this, 27%, which means a vast majority of them are not at the right stage perhaps that we would like it to be. Has that been your experience, having seen a lot of companies that you've consulted with, a lot of startups that you've helped with? Is this a true reflection of what we
So
saw on the
definitely,
call today?
definitely, Envision did a study on that, and this very much matches with the kind of result they had with 1,800 participants all across the world. That most of the company are in the central stage. So they have a design team that might be doing most of the things, but it's still yet to scale. So this is very much evident of what other studies had.
Fascinating. Two questions that kind of pop out of the many that I've seen here so far. One of them is from Harsh, and his view is, and his question is, it's great to see that there are these 5 stages. How do you figure out when you're going and applying for a job, or when you're considering joining an organization, as to what stage? Are there signals? Are there some
Right.
quick tests for you to kind of figure out what stage they may be? Because a lot of things may appear well on the website, but the inside story might be different. So, what's your advice for that type of situation?
So I have a couple of funny tests. I'm not sure how I should share it, but I have a couple of funny tests that I do to understand the design maturity of a company. Is that before joining that company or interacting with it, what I usually do is I text up the employees, majorly the design team of that company beforehand, and I simply ask one question after maybe a bit of small talk. Is that do you uh, do you really do user research, or do you interview users, right? That's one of the major signals of the maturity of a company, is that if they are not interacting with their customers, if their design team is not interacting directly with their customers, that there's something wrong with how mature the design is at their organization. So that is one of the major signals that I look for, especially as a UX designer, that I want to make sure that the company respects feedback, company respects taking feedback from their customers, and respects that they can create a much better experience uh, through that data.
Very interesting. I want to take this question from Dr. Chinmay Desai. He's the Dean and Faculty of Engineering and Technology at the UCA Tarsadia University. And I think his question, combining with one more question that we've seen, is, service design. We hear a lot about this in today's context, where a lot of products are obviously offered as a service. A lot of business models are more service focused. Where would you say, service design falls as a parameter across these kind of, 5 stages that you've mentioned? And specifically, his question is, what kind of analytics would you collect as part of the service design to know which stage you're in?
Right. So if you want to create the right design, right service design, it should happen across all touch points. So let's take an example of Tesla, for example. They have a great experience on their showroom, on their website, and everywhere else, right? On their shows, they have a very similar experience. So that's the service design done well. And in the sixth dimension that we discussed, the belief and innovation comes in the play here, that the way your company respects the design thinking, the way your company understands that innovation is important at all stages, the better you do. So the first step, I think, for all companies to do well across all touch points to create a better service design is to first start understanding them. And because evident with also our poll results, that's something that most people haven't even started doing. the very first thing they need to do is go ahead at all touch points, everything that you have. If you have multiple offices, try to get feedback from all of them. Try to go to all the touch points, and first step, collect all the user data.
Fascinating. I want to first throw up a poll on the screen in terms of how people have gotten into certain design mode or the design field, especially if those who are in the design zone. How did you get there? And I know this is fascinating because your own background, Bhavishya, is that you never went to any pure design school yourself, right? You're kind of self-taught in many ways. Went through these online courses, boot camps, right? And never had a formal design. You also mentioned, skills as part of the maturity model across the five kind of phases and the 6 dimensions that you mentioned. And you're a hardcore engineer from what your background that you shared earlier, which is fascinating. What would be your advice? Fast forward in today's world, for those who are wanting to move into this design space, want to kind of build their design skills, their aptitude, even if they're a product manager, but they build their design acumen. What are some of the tips and tricks that has worked for you, and what would your advice be for those who are aspiring?
I think one of the biggest advice would be is that I had to look around a lot for the right information, right? So I unfortunately didn't have the budgets or funds to get any of the right courses. But if you do, if you can afford something better, you should go to a correct UX boot camp, right? I think also Institute of Product Leadership has a boot camp or a course, I think, on user experience. So if you go, I think, to a right source and get the right information faster, I think you can get going quickly. So that's something that I didn't know. I took full 2 years to even start doing user research, and full 2 years of calling myself UI UX designers. And then I started doing user research. So these kind of mistakes you don't end up doing if you are entirely self-taught, right? So if you have the resources, you should definitely go for the right courses. You should definitely go for whatever education you can have.
But that's fascinating. Even if you don't, I think the point is it's possible for you to pick up and learn from the environment, to network, and to do things and experiment, right? It looks like it's a good role model. Vishwash's question, who's a UX designer at Neutrinos, is also in a similar zone. Can a designer push an early stage company into kind of future stages? And I think you kind of answered that question, that of course you can, with the right set of attitude and mindset, obviously, to do. I think that's just about all the time that we have left. We're slightly over our original schedule, but I'm super excited that you could spend some time and share a lot of that insights. I'm sure the audience was just mesmerized with a lot of prescriptive guidance, like I said, especially that you had given. Do give some feedback. The poll is on the screen, and it allows us to kind of fine tune. It allows the team and the volunteers to fine tune these sessions better for you in the next round, right? So, and while the poll kind of goes live, big thank you on behalf of all the volunteers. Bhavishya, here's your virtual badge of appreciation. And if you scan the QR code, it's actually, you'll find your own, your own little space on the Hall of Fame on the Institute's website. So, and that's also a page where the recording of this video and the sessions will also be uploaded on that page as well. So truly appreciate you spending the time, and I hope MXPLAYER an amazing success. It already has been a roaring success, and I'm sure with your leadership and passion, it will take go to new heights. So thanks a lot, Bhavishya.
Thanks a lot for inviting me.